I am super excited to have Andre Riley as our guest on the podcast today. He is my boss's boss's boss, which means that he is our chief revenue officer here at iHire, and he's in charge of the sales, marketing, and customer success teams. He has over 13 years of experience in the software as a service industry, and he is a pro at helping companies achieve their goals. Before joining iHire, he was the CRO at Arcade, and that is a company specializing in the gamification of the sales process. Plus, he's an advisor and investor to startups and venture capital firms.
iHire connects you to industry-specific jobs in over 57 talent communities. Find your niche today on iHire.
Hi, Andre. How are you doing today?
Hey, Lori. I'm good. How's it going with you today?
Great. It's so good to have you here on the Find Your Niche podcast. I'm really excited to talk to you. So I've been hearing more and more about a chief revenue officer. Could you tell us a little bit more about what a CRO, chief revenue officer, does? And is this something new to just the technology space, or are other companies adopting this?
Yeah. It's a very good question, Lori. And I'm super excited to join this podcast as well and have this discussion with you. And yeah, when it comes to chief revenue officer, it's definitely something more and more that's become a bigger topic out there. As a chief revenue officer, my overall responsibilities are creating demand, executing demand, and retaining that demand. And so what that means is, overseeing all of sales, marketing, and customer success and all revenue generating opportunities, all revenue generating functions within a company. The CRO role has been something that has really probably taken off over the past 5 to 7 years or so, really heavily in the tech space, where it's really primarily geared towards. But you're starting to see several other companies out there in completely different industries outside of the SaaS tech space that are also starting to implement CROs and things like that within their organizational function. And it becomes important because you think about the whole customer journey in the way that people are purchasing products or services today. A lot of it starts with marketing and creating demand and taking them through that journey and then connecting with sales and having that conversation to execute that demand. And then it becomes important for a company to retain that revenue from a customer success standpoint. And so when you can have all that roll under one kind of umbrella and everything kind of really is all alignment across the entire journey, that becomes super important. And that's really the key areas of a CRO is to drive alignment across the entire customer journey, ensuring that you're driving revenue for the business in a profitable way.
I'd love to hear more about your career journey. How did you get to the point of being a chief revenue officer? Where did you start? What are some of the steps you took along the way?
Yeah. So very, very good question. It all started probably, I would say, back in college, right? And I think it starts first with for myself, I knew early on kind of what I wanted to do for a living. I had met someone early on in my college career as a freshman, very successful guy that was selling medical devices like GE, CAT scanners, machines to hospitals. And I was very intrigued when he was telling me about his job and role, and it got my interest. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about sales. I've always been a finance and numbers guy. So I was always passionate about finance and numbers. So I was a finance major when I first started college, but then quickly realized I think I want to do sales. I'm a very social person. I like engaging with people. And most importantly, I love the aspect when it comes to sales and in particular marketing is understanding how people make decisions, why they make decisions. And so my sophomore year in college, I switched my major and I majored in marketing. And then from there, once I got out of school, I graduated in 2009, right after the '08 kind of crisis. So it was a very tumultuous environment at that point for
All
recent
right.
college grads. And yeah, and
Bad
so
time to be getting into the market.
exactly. And of course, my aspirations coming out of college is I wanted to go work for the big brand name companies. I wanted to do medical device or pharmaceutical sales was what I was focused on initially, was putting out resumes and applying for jobs, nothing really happening. And I got fortunate enough that I ended up getting on with an early tech startup right out of college. And I got a sales job as an inside sales rep. And it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. It's a blessing in so many ways. And joining this company is a tech company that did digital marketing for car dealerships. And, I had an amazing CEO, an amazing kind of culture there that really prided themselves on really empowering the employees, giving them the autonomy, but also driving their performance as far as giving them the ability to learn and foster so much within that company. And so, early on, start off as an inside sales rep. And at the time, I didn't even know about really what a startup was, didn't quite understand it,
Oh,
but got
yeah.
in. I'll never forget the first time I walked in for my interview. I was wearing a full suit. I'm in Texas, so summertime is super hot, about 105 degrees outside, and I'm in a full suit. And I walk in, and at the time, I didn't know he was a founder and CEO of the company, but a guy walks by, and first person I see when I walk in, and he's wearing flip flops, shorts, and a t-shirt. And I remember looking around the office, and everyone is just so relaxed, t-shirt, shorts, and I was like, wow, this seems very cool. And then, they took me on a tour. I saw that they had ping pong tables, video games. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks like a really cool place. And a lot of young people too. So it was like, wow, and got in and started off as inside sales and did very well at that and really killed it. And, did very successful in a lot of ways like that, but also was, at a startup, you wear multiple hats. There's a lot of things you got to do. You
Mhm.
have to be very driven. You have to be very taking initiative on finding solutions and doing things. And so that was a lot of me. And so we didn't have marketing. And so I started doing marketing to help me get more sales. And I started putting together collateral and materials and things like that and really did very well and moved up to become a sales manager and then eventually became a VP of sales and marketing. We ended up selling that company to a large publicly traded company back in 2012. So that became another great opportunity for me that I got to go work at a big publicly traded company where when I started at the early stage startup company, I was employee number 32. When we sold the company, we had about 150 employees. And then the company that we sold to, we had about 390 people just in sales.
Oh,
Yeah, very, very interesting and really got to see the corporate side of the big companies and how that works. But it was a lot of good experience for me there that I learned a lot and gained a lot in that aspect as well. And through that time after that, the original founders approached me about a year later and said, hey, we're about to start up another company in the healthcare space, and we want you to come on board and help us build this company. And so for me, it was a really good opportunity for me at the stage of my life and where I was in my career to kind of be a part of building something from the ground up. And so we started a company called Dr. Logic. And I got hired as the VP of sales and marketing there. And then just through success and just constantly driving revenue for the company and building and scaling the teams from sales, marketing, revenue operations, customer success, really opened the door for me to take the opportunity to become the chief revenue officer. And so at Dr. Logics, when I first became the CRO, and it's an amazing experience, and I really put a lot of effort towards, or really a lot of kudos towards my prior CEO. He was an amazing guy, very much taught me so much about business, and I'm a very curious person. So I ask a lot of questions. I want to learn. I want to understand, how did you build this company? How did you create these things? And so I learned so much from him that was so monumental for me in my career, and just understanding business and understanding how businesses operate and how to build a profitable company. And that really helped me in my skill set to become good as a CRO and really learn the things necessary to drive revenue in a profitable and sustainable way for the company.
do you recall a specific moment or a time where you just thought, this is it? This is what I am supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I would say early on when I started my career and I started selling, I would say for the first 2.5, close to 3 years, I sold more every single month than I did the previous month. Every single month, I kept just exceeding goal. And, month one, I would sell 10,000, month two, 12, month three, 15. And I always kept, and I was just consistent like that. And I realized, okay, I'm pretty good at this. I think I got this. And, but also it took a lot of, I studied a lot. I read a lot. I constantly was out there seeking information, listening to podcasts, reading books, just constantly honing in on my craft. and just getting better and better at what I do and looking at the small things and really practicing and analyzing every little detail and working towards that. And, I would say early on in sales is where I really kind of realized it. And then I think as other people started telling me, it kind of helped solidify that as well. I think at all
Mm,
times, we're always hardest on ourselves. We always kind of doubt ourselves. And sometimes you need that validation from others to tell you. And I think as others started telling me, like, dude, you're very good at this. And like, wow. And it kind of helped me realize that. And I knew like, hey, this is what I want to do. And I'm passionate about it. And, my ultimate goal and my, biggest thing that I want to do is I want to start my own company someday and I want to start a tech company. And so, these are all things and experiences that are going to help me become a better leader and a better owner and building a company as well.
absolutely. And isn't it funny how those limiting beliefs about yourself, you don't believe it when you say it about yourself, but you believe it when other people say it to you.
Hmm.
That just encourage you and say, "Oh, you are very good at this." And
Hmm.
those limiting beliefs can have such a negative impact if you don't turn them around the minute you start thinking about them.
Yeah, it's absolutely that. And I think all people go through what, they call imposter syndrome, right? It's like feeling like I
Exactly.
shouldn't be here. Like, no, this is that. And like, it's very common. And I think a lot of people sometimes doubt themselves and question it. But I think a lot of people go through that phase of having that imposter syndrome. And I think it's super important for you to really dive into that and really, find a way and understand really where your strong suit is, where your skills are at, and knowing that you're not going to be great across everything, especially the higher you move up.
Right.
And, as a CRO, you're over so many different departments, so many different areas. I'm constantly context switching. Sometimes I'm looking at finances and numbers all day. Then I'm looking at creative marketing and strategies and content and, and messaging and things like that. So you're not going to be good at everything. And that's one key thing that you always have to remember. But what's super important is like the things that you're not good at, you hire, you find the best talent that's good at those things, right? And
Hmm.
you allow them to, you open up the gates and allow them to do their job, right? You hire them for a
Right.
reason to execute. And so you want to make sure you give them the reins to do that. And so it's super important to kind of say have that mindset as well.
So we've talked about industries a little bit, but I'm always fascinated about how different industries can shape someone's perspective and their approach to their work. Tell me again about the different industries you've been in and how
Mhm.
that's kind of shaped your leadership style.
Yeah, absolutely. So my entire career, I've worked in a SaaS tech space, right? I've sold software as a service across, the entire time that I've been in my professional career. I'd probably say for the first 9 to 10 years was selling a marketing technology, a MarTech solution, a digital marketing platform. And initially, when we first started, we were selling in the automotive space to car dealerships. Then we took that same technology and we sold it now to doctors. And so it's a whole different persona talking to car dealers versus talking to doctors. So
Mm,
you have
yeah.
to learn and understand those businesses, understand the pain points, the problems, and how your company and what your product is doing to help solve those, and understand really the day to day of what those businesses are dealing with and the day to day things they're having there. And so it really shaped a lot for me talking to car dealers and switching to doctors. And so I learned a lot, shaped a lot with that, understanding, talking to business owners who are also the kind of individual contributors, so to say, right? Where you have a
Mhm.
doctor who's they own the practice, but they're also providing that service and things of that nature. So, a lot different than talking to a general manager at a car dealership who has a team of sales reps and a team of service departments, things of that nature. So those things alone, you start to see that there's different contexts how you have that. It wasn't until roughly about 3 years ago, after I stepped away from Dr. Logic, it was really a time for me to say, man, I've been working with these same founders for pretty much my entire career. I'm ready to go try something different. I want to go try a different way. And so I went and worked at a tech startup called Arcade, and it's a gamification company. And so it was a whole different industry selling a gamification technology to mid market and enterprise type companies out there. And we had different industries that we were selling to, but again, that was different in itself as well. And so through all these experiences, you learn a lot, you gain a lot to understand how different businesses operate and understand different processes and different tactics and strategies that be deployed across different areas. But there's also a lot that translates very well into other areas as well. So things that you may have done in the healthcare space can really work well when you're selling to mid-market enterprise type deals as well. So it's just understanding, taking the keys and taking the right things from those different experiences and applying them, but also knowing that everything you did before doesn't always work the exact same way in the new place or the new way. And so that's something to always keep in mind as well. It's like you can't just repeat the same playbook that you've always ran. You have to optimize and tweak and really understand the buyers and the customers. And that really helps unlock a lot.
I couldn't help but notice the Mamba mentality flag in your background. Tell us what that means and why it's
Yeah.
meaningful to you.
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that. And obviously, with it being a part of my background, it's a common question that comes up. So the Mamba mentality is derived from Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. And it's really, the definition, as you can probably see in the background, is a constant quest to be the best version of oneself, right? And really, that always stuck with me. And I've always been a huge fan of Kobe Bryant. I'm not a Lakers fan. I always like to make that clear. I'm not a Lakers fan, but I am a Kobe Bryant fan. And really, something that's really been key with it is the ability that the concept and that whole kind of saying is, really constantly working to improve on yourself and constantly be the best version of yourself. And when you think about Kobe Bryant and the work ethic that he had and what he put in to be one of the greatest players in the NBA, it was the work and the constant drive and motivation that he had to become the best and constantly honing on every bit of his craft. And to me, that's so synonymous with business. To me, sports
Mhm.
and especially sales is so synonymous together. And, it's that constant quest that, when you're in sales, watching your calls, reviewing your demos, right? Just like in sports, you're watching film and you're studying the great ones. Same thing happens in sales. It's like, hey, you want to watch demos of some of the top salespeople and understand what are they doing? How is it working for them? What are all the small little things when you're responding to an email? What subject line is in there? What's the first thing you're putting in that content? So it's something that analyzing every component of what you do to become the best version of yourself is really what it's all about. And it's constantly honing in on your craft and just becoming the best version of that and working hard towards it. And so it's something that I've always had a strong work ethic, just the way I was brought up. And, it's something that's always stuck with me. And so I've been very, very passionate about it, but highly encourage a lot of people read the Kobe Bryant book. It's a Mamba mentality book that they have, but you'll start to see a lot with just his work ethic and a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes that got him to become great as like what he is today or what he was, rest in peace.
If you could time travel back to when you first started out in your career, what would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self?
I would say take more risk. Don't be so concerned about what people think. I think those are two things for me. As you grow and mature in your career, you start to learn and, really start to hone in on a lot of these things. But if I could go back in time and really put those things in myself, there's a lot that early on, going back to some of the imposter syndrome that we talked about, constantly being concerned with like, well, if I push this out there, if I do this, what are people going to think? Or what are people's opinions going to be? And sometimes that can really start to cloud things and really, hinder you and put roadblocks in front of you. And so for me, I always tell a lot of young folks coming in is like, take risk, bet on yourself, right? And don't be too concerned about what everyone thinks, right? There's a form of like, having self awareness, but at the same time, there's also like, you have to be able to know, like, look, not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to think it's a great idea, but you have to believe in that. And you got to sometimes take that risk and go down that path and do it.
So internalize the good things people are saying about you and be able to just walk away from the opinions that maybe don't fit in with your current mindset.
Yeah, yeah. Or just don't worry about what people potentially could think, right? Don't overanalyze it.
Mhm.
Don't think about, oh, well, if I do this, people are going to think that that's stupid. Or if I do this, that's going to cause uproar. So again, it's just, don't let those things bog you down or hinder you too much. Because at the end of the day, someone's always going to have an opinion. Everyone's always going to have an opinion about something. And so, it's just super important that just the quicker you realize that, the faster you learn that, the better off you'll be in the long run.
So, if we look ahead to sales management and the role of the CRO and the exciting things that are happening in this new type of a career, what are some of the really out of the box innovative things that you see on the horizon that could have an impact on the industry?
Mm, very, very interesting question. I would probably say the biggest thing that's coming to mind, I wouldn't say it's out of the box, but I would probably say AI. AI is
Mhm.
something that I think is really going to change a lot in the way for companies, especially when you think about go to market teams and you think about AI being the right content for marketing. And, marketing has so many areas from like, ebooks to blogs to website copy to all types of content being produced. And the same thing for sales, right? Sales folks having the right emails and the right content and, personal branding, pushing out content on LinkedIn and things of that nature. And I think so many people having good writers and having, people who are good at writing and know how to build the right content, form right emails, sometimes a challenge for people to have that skill set and have that craft to do that. And so something like AI and Chat GPT and all the other AI driven solutions that are out there that are exploding right now is going to really change the game and kind of really unlock a lot there for a lot of folks and means that productivity can go up significantly. I think humans still are going to have to tailor and put the human touch on it.
Yes.
But when you can have AI take care of 75% of that, and then you come in and you massage and critique that content and kind of edit and personalize it to a certain extent, that saves a lot and does a lot there. And so that's one thing, I wouldn't say it's out the box because it's already there and it's happening, but I think that that's
Right.
something that is going to be very innovative and really change the game across a lot of companies out there, and I think across a lot of industries, and just in the world itself today, it's going to change a lot.
So I talk to people that are scared of AI. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I think humans, we all go through that way of it. Change is constantly something that, a lot of people aren't as quickly adapt to. And I think a lot of times we get concerned about robots taking over our jobs and technology and software and all the things that have been innovating, created in this world sometimes can be argued that, oh, it's going to take our jobs and things of that nature. But at the same time, I think that it's those machines and these robots, whether it's AI bots or whether it's, robots that are doing jobs, they still need humans to tell them what to do and to dictate what that is. And
Yes.
so there's still going to be value for those that are out there. But it also means that like you just have to hone in and increase your skill set and increase your talents to find that right niche so that you're not, ousted or, your job doesn't get taken over by technology in that sense. But human jobs and things of that nature are still going to be highly needed to be able to tell these robots and tell these AIs what to do. That human touch still needs to be there. And I think, over time it'll be embraced a lot more. But I think the same sentiment was out there about the internet and about just technology in itself. A lot of people thought like, oh, this is going to take over. This is a bad thing. And everything has its pros and cons, and it has ways. The internet has opened up a lot for us, and it's caused a lot of different challenges in society as well. But there's pros and cons that come with it, and I think that finding the right way and how you look at things and how you assess things can really make a difference on how you embrace certain changes that are happening in the world.
I remember my first internet search and I thought, I am now the smartest person in the world because I can look up anything that I want and it's
Yeah.
there. It was so amazing to me. And I feel the same way about AI. I feel that, wow, the doors that this is going to open, at least for some of the things that I do, incredible. I'm
Hmm.
discovering new things every day.
Oh yeah. I mean, as a CRO, I'm looking at it, talking to marketing, and I'm like, guys, this can be game changing for our content teams and producing content. And the same thing with sales. It's like, hey, you don't have to be an expert at writing emails. Like there's tools and solutions out there to help with that. And so it's very, very fascinating to me and very, very interesting, and how it can really be a huge value add to driving more productivity and more efficiency across our teams and companies out there.
What's one piece of advice that you have received over your career that has just stuck with you and has helped you to be more successful?
I'll tell you, as I talked about early on when I started my career at the company ClickMotive, early tech startup, I'll never forget during the first week of onboarding, you go through all the trainings, different departments, different things like that. And I'll never forget the CEO came in and was training us and going through some talks about different aspects in the company and the business and everything like that. And I still have this notebook till this day. I'm a writer, so I write a lot of things down. So I have stacks of notebooks that I've saved up over my career. And I'll never forget, I still have this notebook that I wrote down something that he said. And it's so simple, so straightforward, is that everything is negotiable. And I remember he told us that. And even though it seems so small and it seems like not just so eye opening, but when you start to really understand that throughout your career and you realize and know everything is negotiable, it changes and opens up so much. And it's helped me a lot in different ways in my career, negotiating salaries, negotiating terms, negotiating with customers and deals and things of that nature, negotiating with team members, negotiating and agreeing upon something is constantly something we do all day. Sometimes we're negotiating with our kids to get them to do things and stuff like that. But
Most of the time.
yeah, exactly. But when you really embrace that, that's something that has always stuck with me, is like everything is negotiable. And like I said, it's so simple, it's so basic, but it's definitely something that has been very beneficial to me in my career. And I remember I told my CEO, and he's a mentor to me to this day. And I remember I told him that a couple years back. I said, I don't think you remember this, but you said this, at that time, it's probably like 10 years ago now. I was like, you said this and it's always stuck with me. He's like, huh. He's like, he laughed at it. He goes, it's crazy. He goes, you definitely applied that. I will say that. And I'm like, absolutely. And I learned it from you. So, but yeah, that's definitely something I would definitely tell folks. And just always remember that everything is negotiable.
Andre, it's been such a pleasure talking to you today. I look forward to more conversations and really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lori. Really enjoyed it. And I appreciate you guys inviting me and allowing me to come on here and have this conversation. So looking forward to more conversation with you guys as well. So thank you very much.